Hey, it's Canon here. Welcome to Gear Talk episode 12. It's been a few months since my last video. The last 4 months has been pretty crazy. I switched jobs recently, have a couple friends getting married, and a couple bachelor party, and my daughter is also starting to move a lot more. So I've been busy and haven't been finding the time or energy to make another video. But back in April, I was able to go to the Calgary Zoo, which is the zoo here in Calgary, and I decided to test out the Canon 70-200 f2.8 version 2. Yeah, it's a really well-known L lens in the Canon lineup, and I wanted to bring it with me to the zoo to test out the Animal eye detect autofocus while being adapted on the Canon R6. So this lens is actually my favorite from when I was coming from the Canon 5D Mark III and Mark IV. It is just a go-to lens, and I haven't found the need to pull the trigger and switch to the RF yet. So this was kind of a little fun experiment to bring one lens to the zoo and try to take some cool photos with it, and to test out the Animal eye detect with this EF lens adapted on the Canon R6. So here are some of the sample photos that I took. Hope you like them. So those are the photos I grabbed with the Canon R6 and the Canon 70-200. Overall, with the Animal eye detect, most animals it worked really great. It detected the eye pretty fast, and the focus was pretty good. Even shooting through glass and some reflective surfaces, it was still able to detect the eye. The only two subjects that I had trouble with the autofocus was one, the bison. I don't know if it was just a low contrast around the eye, or there was a little bit of a shadow in the fur around the eye that made the autofocus a little bit difficult to find the eye. And the other one was the butterfly, because they had these dots on their wing which tricked the camera to think they are the eyes. I never assumed that the camera would be able to detect the butterfly's eyes because it's so small. That may be a cool test to do with the 100mm macro instead, and see if the autofocus will detect the eye. But yeah, other than that, all the animals it was able to detect it really fast. I could half press, focus, and track, and wait for the perfect moment to take the photo. And in general, it was very good to use. I had 3 points, and one of them is not even related to the lens. One is just the autofocusing feature with the Animal eye detect. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to toggle between subjects. If you have multiple animals in one frame, it'll detect one animal at the front, and you can toggle it left and right, I think, to get to the next eye that it detects. For me, it took some time to get used to, and I'm still not used to it. I ended up using the touchscreen to manually touch focus to kind of move to the subject I wanted to focus on. So nothing to do with the lens. It worked fine, as fast as I would have expected it on the Canon 5D Mark III. Really happy with how it performed. Point two, if you've used this lens on a Canon full frame 5D, or 60, you will notice even though it's the exact same lens, it will feel heavier or it'll require your wrist to be using a little bit more force. And that is because of the distance with the adapter. It just throws the lens weight a little bit further away from the camera, as well as the mirrorless body being a little bit thinner than the traditional DSLR. You will feel a lot more weight going through your wrists when you're holding the camera with one hand. When you support the lens with your other hand, no issues at all. You might not notice it, but it's definitely one thing that I noticed when I first pick up the camera and lens combo compared to a full frame DSLR. And the third thing is I used it with a rapid strap because I was carrying my daughter around. Dangling this lens with a tripod mount and on a mirrorless camera body is still something I'm not used to, especially with the adapter. I know it's well built. I don't know, it felt very nerve-wracking to me to be dangling this with the mirrorless swinging around, but that might just be me. I found it difficult because I was holding my daughter. I was trying to take some photos with one hand with the camera. I just found it very difficult to maneuver and move this camera and lens combo on the rapid strap with one hand. I think it might just take a little bit more time to get used to it, but yeah. Other than that, I think it's actually really fun to use, especially if you're interested to take pictures of animals at a zoo. In wildlife, when you want more distance, I think a little bit more zoom would be nice. But that's the lens that I had for now, and yeah, I hope the sample photos were useful to see what type of quality of images can be taken from this lens and camera combo with Animal Eye Detect. Yeah, from my experience, it's actually really smooth using the Animal Eye Detect eye focus. I'm not a wildlife photographer. If I was taking it with an old DSLR, I would be moving the joystick as fast as I can to change the focus point or doing a center point focus. But having this Animal Eye Detect allows me to focus on framing instead of worrying about my focus point, which I thought was really nice. And instead of worrying about moving as the animal is moving, I can just trust the autofocus system to get that shot. Yeah, I'm hoping this video is useful for anyone searching about how well this 70-200 EF f2.8 version 2 lens work on the Canon R6 or on the EOS R or R5. I'm guessing the autofocus systems are very similar in the R5 and R6, and yeah, I'm as a hobbyist photographer that don't regularly take wildlife photos, I had a really fun time and didn't notice any issues with the autofocusing. Yeah, so that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed the images, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. And yeah, if you like this channel, like and subscribe. I'm trying to still figure out what I want to do with the type of videos in this channel. I'm still trying to find a way to integrate my engineering background and my hobby and my technical background with my hobby, and I don't know exactly what that'll look like yet, but yeah, if that might sound interesting to you, yeah, follow and subscribe. Cheers.